Ms. Dzerowicz.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank all our panelists today for coming to present, and thanks for the important role that you are providing to Canadian businesses during this time. I know that you've had to sort of step outside of your main mandate, and so very much appreciate all your efforts. I was curious, you had mentioned that there's been 400 loans approved. Do you keep a tally on how many loans have not been approved?
So perhaps I can take that one quickly. These are the loans that the banks have advised us that they have currently in works. We've also asked them to provide us some details of loans that they have declined. So that's the data that we are collecting and that we would hope then to share with the committee by the end of the week when we have that data.
Okay, that would be helpful, just because it'd be nice to know who's asking for help that for some reason we're not able to provide some support to. Then it gets into a little bit of the transparency of just who's receiving the loans. Do we have a clear list of who the loans are going to and how much money is actually being allocated for the different loans?
So we will have details of who is in receipt of the loans, because they are formal arrangements between the bank and a customer. So we will have that. One of the things that, as we built the program, we actually put in place reporting that was like 45 days after loans are actually assigned and agreed with the customer. So that's part of our challenge in terms of reporting data, because there is quite a lag time in getting the data. We have subsequently asked that we have the ability to reach out to the companies and perhaps understand a bit more the data behind the company itself, not just the name, but what sector is it in, what geography is it in, and perhaps some other questions that we might like to understand about the companies receiving the actual loans themselves. With respect to the CEBA program, that information is all available today.
So in terms of, just so I'm clear, you're asking who in order to be able to go directly to the companies to get that information. Are you asking the banks for it? And then are you just waiting for a reply? Just because I do think that's important information, and it ideally would be more timely than 45 days.
Yes, we understand, and perhaps that was something that we should have reflected on at the start, that we set that criteria with the banks. And of course, for them, it's actually collecting all of the information. One of our parameters was to try and ensure that it was faster. So we didn't ask for a lot of upfront data on the companies. We will have to collect it afterwards, and we are seized with getting that done.
Okay, thank you. My next question, as you know, we're starting to reopen the economy. We're trying to, look out into the future. And, our Prime Minister has often talked about how we're going to be moving forward to build back better. And I think everybody knows that we have a number of commitments around a net zero economy, achieving our Paris Accord targets. If you look at the loans and the loan program that the federal government has introduced for large employers in terms of supports, there's a number of criteria that's been applied. And one of the criteria is actually around sort of climate-related disclosure. So, how the future operations will support environmental sustainability and national climate goals. If we were to put that criteria onto sort of our medium-sized companies, do you think that would have an impact in terms of companies actually applying for these loans? So for the BCAP program.
So there are two BCAP guarantee programs, the one for the small companies and one for the medium-sized companies. What I can share with you is that with respect to our support in the oil and gas sector, we have attached that requirement for climate-related disclosures in line with the task force for climate-related financial disclosures. So we have done that very specifically with respect to a carbon-intense industry, so that that is part of the criteria of our support with respect to the RBL guarantee. It's difficult for me to say, would companies decide that was something that they would take on or not with respect to the guarantee. We certainly our advocates, in fact, EDC has signed on itself to the TCFD in 2018. And these are discussions we have often with our large buyers, our large customers, in understanding their own approach to climate and where they're going. But as for the companies themselves specifically, we have not had any feedback to EDC with respect to either accepting or declining on the basis of climate-related disclosures.
And can I just clarify, Mr. Chair, can I just clarify just one point? Can I just ask, so you're already asking right now for companies who are applying for BCAP that they disclose the risk posed by climate change to their business before they can apply for a loan?
So we are asking that specifically in our support for the oil and gas sector.
Okay, only specifically. Thank you.